The April 14th, 2021 meeting of the Long Branch City Council will now come to order. Roll call.
Mr. Dangler, Dr. Vogt,
Here.
Mrs. Wittes,
Here.
Dr. Selly,
Here.
Mr. Vieira.
Here. We will now recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Jeff, it's all yours, Jeff.
I hereby certify this meeting has been published in the newspaper and adequate electronic notice has been provided in accordance with the Public Meetings Act and New Jersey Administrative Code, Title 5, Chapter 39, Section 1.5, Notice of Remote Public Meetings as required by law.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. I'd like to turn it over to Mayor Pallone now.
Thank you, Council President. I see Ms. Cheryl is on the call with us. Ms. Cheryl celebrated her 100th birthday yesterday on April 13th. And so we wanted to present her. We actually gave her an official one yesterday, but we wanted to present her with a proclamation here on behalf of the City Council. I'd like to say that Ms. Cheryl was my first grade elementary school art teacher. And I understand she was Councilwoman Wittes as well throughout elementary school.
Yes.
So I wanted to say congratulations. And I just wanted to read, if I may, a little portion of the of her biography. And many of us on this call have known Ms. Cheryl over the years. She's still very active and a wonderful artist. I know Mary Jane knows her well as well. But let me just read this, if I may. Sue Cheryl was born in Philadelphia 100 years ago and was an only child. While demonstrated tremendous artistic ability from an early age, she chose to serve her country for 28 months during World War II in the Women's Auxiliary Army Corps, primarily as an X-ray technician, but was also called upon to illustrate a medical textbook. She also demonstrated athletic proficiency on the basketball court and played on the Auxiliary Army Corps basketball team. And upon leaving that group, she utilized the GI Bill to earn her BA in art at Moore College of Art in Philadelphia, and then later went on to receive her master's degree at Douglas College at Rutgers. She moved to Long Branch when her husband was sent to Fort Monmouth, and as she worked as a freelance textile designer, she then accepted a teaching position in West Long Branch, which allowed her more time to spend with her young son. And in 1959, she was approached personally by the superintendent of Long Branch schools to teach art in 7 elementary schools. She received and accepted an additional offer to teach night classes at what was then Monmouth College, until she took a sabbatical to live in Iran for a year with her husband, who was in charge of the F-14 aircraft program.
Wow.
After retiring from Long Branch schools in 1968, Sue continued to work and as award-winning artist recognized by the Art Society of Monmouth County, City Core Show, Monmouth Arts Gallery, Monmouth Senior Citizens, Philadelphia Orchestra Association competition, and the International Fabric Design competition. And up until a few years ago, or maybe you still do, I would see her at various art shows displaying her art. She's been active in the Friends of the Long Branch Library, which I know myself and Mary Jane have been involved in with her, the Art Society of Monmouth County, the Art Alliance of Philadelphia, Art Alliance of Red Bank, Belmar Arts Council, Oceanport Garden Club, and the Bradley Beach Library Writers Club. She enjoys life as a grandmother to Julie, Greg, and Andrea, and great-grandmother to Brenton, Evelyn, Reagan, and Jackson. So therefore, on behalf of the mayor and the city council of the city of Long Branch, hereby proclaim profound appreciation to Ms. Cheryl's inspiration to her family, community, countless students, including several on this call tonight, and wish her a happy 100th birthday, overflowing with blessings. Thank you, Ms. Cheryl, presented the 13th day of April, 2021.
I get to talk.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Mr. Earl.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Wonderful.
You want to say
Okay.
a few words, Mr. Cheryl?
Please.
I guess she has something to say.
I have something to say to John. John, first I want to thank you for acknowledging my birthday. I have lived in Long Branch for almost 70 years. And it's a wonderful city to live in. My son, Steve, went to school here. He was 1 year ahead of your brother, Frank. From there, he went to Wharton School. I want you to know that I think that you and the council are doing a great job. And that's all I have to say.
Thanks for,
Thank you.
thanks for the compliments and happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Aw.
Happy
Thank you.
birthday. Happy
Thank
birthday.
you. That smile.
Thank
All
you.
right. Reading of approval of the previous minutes. I need a motion to approve the minutes of March 24th, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Dangler, Dr. Vogt,
Yes.
Mrs. Wittes,
Yes.
Dr. Selly,
Yes.
Mr. Viera.
Yes.
That's 4 ayes and 1 absent.
Consideration of ordinance, public hearing and final consideration. Ordinance 3-21, an ordinance amending chapter 345 of the Code of the City of Long Branch, revising development regulations for the Transit Village, also known as TVD. This ordinance was introduced on February 24th, 2021, and revises zoning to the district village of around the train station. I need a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
If any member of the public has any comments to make, please dial *9 on your phone and a representative will call you by your last 3 digits of your phone number. When you are called upon, state your name and address clearly for the record. You will only have 5 minutes and may only speak once.
Caller whose phone number ends in 350. Go ahead.
Here, Ernest Spignoli, 710 Northeast 7th Street, South Beach, Florida. I'm looking for a home. I was born in Long Branch. Right now, I sold my home in Asbury. I'm looking for a home in Long Branch or Asbury. So I'm very concerned and follow what's going on around 3rd Avenue and the train station and that whole area. And it's my belief and understanding that this is just an effort to I don't want to use the word deceive, but maybe not let the public know exactly what's going on. But there's drips and drabs coming out. For example, all of a sudden it's coming out that, oh, maybe the hospital is moving to Route 35. And maybe the big buildings on 3rd Avenue are being sold to developers. And maybe the police department's moving to 3rd Avenue. And then you hear people who live there say, we don't want this. We don't want increased density. We don't want this. And yet, the way you present it, no one can figure it out. No one can understand except when we see these little tips come out in the paper where you're really involved in a lot of things with the county and with the state and even federal government where, you're trying to do stuff like with the hospital and with the Jersey Transit and with the assemblymen, the U.S. Assembly, congressmen, everybody's involved in this except the public. And the poor people in Long Branch who live in that area have beautiful one-family homes for generations. They love their area. I mean, I grew up there. that was where I walked to school. That's where I got my hair cut. I mean, I love that residential area. And it just seems like you're always slipping stuff in that the public isn't aware of, that the big developers, get a chance to, buy the hospital or buy the medical buildings and make luxury condos and increase density and keep pushing Long Branch from the east and the beach all the way west until eventually people in Long Branch will have to live in Eatontown or West Long Branch, because you're pushing everybody out. You're, in my opinion, these kind of revisions are overdeveloping, too much density, and you're not really making the public aware, because why is it someone like me, who I love Long Branch, I was born there, but I'm tired of hearing just me call in. And I'm going to give you a reason why. Because other people are afraid to call in. Because, in Long Branch, you got a bunch of rough lawyers and rough developers and rough politicians and police and firemen that sort of like make people a little hesitant, We're a little bit afraid, And I don't think that's a good atmosphere. And I certainly don't think it's why this Long Branch First got elected. And I'll say one further thing. We all thought that Senator Gopal, a Long Branch person, would be involved in all this stuff to help us in Long Branch, in Asbury. In fact, Senator Gopal has joined the other side. Somehow his wife's on the planning board and this and that, and everything's getting approved. And, so why is that? And the last thing I'll say about these proposals, why, Mayor, when all these developers and all these people want to do things, that you don't realize that when you were running for mayor, most of the police and firemen and developers
Mr. McNolly, let's stick to the ordinance. This is not about the police and the
I
fire.
am. I'm saying that when these ordinances were being formed, most of the people were against you and Mr. Pallone.
1 minute.
They're still doing it. So you like to say nobody's involved and you got to stick to the ordinance, but look at who's behind these things, and look at the developers that make millions and billions of this stuff. And you keep saying, well, you got to stick to the ordinance. Why don't you stick to it?
I am sticking to it, Mr. Lepore, Mr.
Oh,
McNolly.
Mr. Lepore. Okay, yeah.
Mr. McNolly.
That's
Hey,
all right.
Council President, I'm sorry, is Mr. McNolly's time up?
You have 10 seconds.
Yeah, that's too bad, Mayor. I still have 10 seconds.
Okay, Mr. McNolly, thank you.
Council President, if I may, Mr. Raynone or Mr. Graviano, would you mind, I'm not quite sure. Mr. McNolly was obviously talking about a lot of different subjects, but could you explain to him, please, that in fact, the transit village, we are actually reducing density? Could you explain this?
That's correct, Mayor. The purpose of this ordinance, and it really doesn't have anything to do with the hospital and the other things that Mr. McNolly were talking about. He's just trying to connect unrelated items. The purpose of this ordinance was a reaction to the council's belief that as you radiated away from the train station, that the density should be reduced so that they would retain the residential character of those neighborhoods. So at council's suggestion and the mayor's suggestion, Mr. Graviano and Laura Newman went in and took a look at this ordinance and started to scale down the densities actually as you radiate away from the train station, with the thought that the corridor along 3rd Avenue adjacent to the train station is where higher densities are. But as you move away into those neighborhoods, that while they might have 2 or 3 family houses and really have a residential character, that should not be disrupted by dense, large-scale development. So that's really the purpose of this ordinance. It doesn't have anything to do with the announcement that was made with regards to the hospital. In fact, this has been in the works for a number of months now, long before that was ever on the board.
Thank you, Mr. Raynor.
You're welcome.
Do we have anybody else, Will?
Couple more hands raised, sir. Roxy RNJ. Go ahead. You may have to unmute yourself.
There I am. Okay. Hi, it's Roxanne Rivingston, 296 Cleveland Avenue. We've been in this area for a year now. We just moved here. And it's my understanding that we are located in the lower density residential fringe of the TVD. Mr. Graviano was nice enough to have a conversation with myself and my husband, and just to confirm something. So I just want to clarify here on the meeting is that in the certified letter that we received, there was item number 3 that was removing garden apartments and multifamily homes. And Mr. Graviano did confirm to us that we live in a multifamily home, and he did say that this would not remove our legal status as a multifamily, and it's just really going forward that these type of units would not be allowed in this area. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you for your time. The other thing that I wanted to bring up that is in this area, the lower density fringe, is there is an abandoned building that has been abandoned for over 20 years on the corner of Westwood and Bath. I'm sure, Mr. Pallone, you're probably familiar with it because when you ran for mayor, you ran on addressing some of the abandoned buildings in the city, especially the inner city. So my question is there some sort of plan for that property? I do understand, I spoke to the owner like a couple of years ago that he was planning or he was trying to apply for some sort of, I guess, affordable housing or something to that degree. I'm not exactly sure. But I'm wondering, like, does the city have anything in mind? Or it's been abandoned for over 20 years. I have some ideas if you want some suggestions. But I'm really curious about that since this is part of that abandoned property is part of the TVD. And also, I just want to point out that that is a very, when you drive there, because of the school is there and everything, it's a very high trafficked and congested area. So if you do have something in mind, I'm asking you to take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Roxy. We do have something, Mr. Graviano will explain, a quick explanation what's supposed to go on there.
Yes, Roxy, the owner of that parcel has received approval from the planning board for an apartment building. They're currently in the process of finalizing their approvals. So there will be development on that site in the future, and I will discuss the property and the maintenance of the property with the owner as well.
I'm assuming that it's not going to be a garden apartment or anything like that or did he get that approval prior to this change?
Well, the approval would be prior to this change since we haven't made the change yet. So the change wouldn't be effect for another 20 days. So it was under the old.
Okay, we got in there then. Okay, so garden apartment, is there some sort of rules as far as the height or the amount of apartments that would be allowed? And what is your plan for the congestion that's already there? I mean, that is a very, very congested intersection there. And now you're going to add, I'm not sure how many more apartments, but do you have a plan? Like, did anybody meet with like the traffic pattern or anything like that?
That project was thoroughly vetted by the planning board engineer. That project, it's roughly 50 units, which in the scheme of things in traffic engineering will not create a major impact to the surrounding area.
1 minute.
Okay, one more before and then actually my husband is with me, so he would get another 5 minutes. So I just have one more question is, since this is city council and not planning and zoning, and I didn't mention it to Mr. Graviano, is who can I talk with about, like, we're on Cleveland Avenue and our roads and also Division Street over by Rockefellers, we have some drainage issues, and we also have some.
We have, Roxy, we have to keep this on the ordinance.
Okay, gotcha.
If you like, you can call back in the session, the public session, and we can address those issues.
Okay, and my husband, he gets 5 minutes, he's here,
No.
so
Sure.
It doesn't-
No,
it doesn't work that way.
it's 5 minutes per couple, is that it?
It's
Or should he
$5
log in
per
with-
person, but you don't get to
phone
transfer
call.
your time.
Oh, no. He's a separate person.
I,
Then he would
Okay,
have to
that's
call
right.
in. He would
Okay,
have to
thank
call-
you.
Let him call in. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Caller Ermi, go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
yes.
Yes, you
Yes.
can.
Okay, this is Scotty Ermy. I live at 322 Cleveland Avenue. And I'm just curious about some of the considerations with garden apartments being like the last person who called in asked about building on some of these empty lots. Will parking be factored in? Because considering that you want to keep it low density residential, there's a huge problem already with overflow parking with the apartments and person dwellings in the area. How is that going to be handled or addressed with this ordinance?
Nick, you got an answer for them?
Yes, this ordinance regulates that all future residential development conform with the New Jersey Residential Site Improvement Standards. So each dwelling unit will have to provide the off-street parking according to that standard.
And what is that standard? I don't know what that standard means.
For example, the Long Branch City Code requires 2 off-street parking spaces for a single-family detached dwelling. That's 4 bedrooms or less. That's consistent with the RSIS regulations. As you go up in bedrooms, obviously additional parking is required. In cases where someone is able to accumulate enough property for a townhouse development, for example, they would be required to meet the standards as well, which require 2.1 spaces per 2 bedroom, et cetera. So residential parking was a focus of the parking standards of this proposed code.
Okay. Well, yeah, I guess I'm just concerned since there already is a issue with parking, if there's going to be anything done to remediate some of that issue with some of the updates in this ordinance, even the existing problem. Like right now, there's so much overflow of parking with what's already existing in this area that like the street cleaning machines can't clean the street. There's so much, cars parked just, all the time on all sides of the road.
Well, I think that the purpose of this ordinance is to dial back the development. We don't have the ability to go back, for instance, to go to you and say, well, you have a single family house, but we really think that you should create parking on your property. So the ordinances don't work that way. They don't really work backwards. They're all always perspective. So the council and the mayor thought that the best thing to do for those, to try to protect the character of those neighborhoods is to dial back the development so that you don't have any increased parking concerns.
In relation to that last property, is that also included the parking? Or is there parking?
Sorry, I don't know. Mr. Council President, I don't know who that is.
You have to address your name to speak and.
Well,
you got the other caller.
Well, that's not the person who dialed in, right? Or, yeah.
That's my question.
That's my husband. He wanted to know if with the development that was just being discussed on that abandoned lot property, if they factored in the old parking kind of rules.
Well,
or
the parking rules are the same. What the current ordinance does that's under consideration is it would reduce the density. In other words, reduce the number of units in the future you could build on these parcels. But the parking standard is the same. Mr. Graviano, who's our planner, referred to the RSIS. That's a residential site improvement standards. That's a statewide standard established that where we follow with regards to planning. So the answer is the way this ordinance handles that is it reduces the density, therefore reducing the need for parking.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Caller Thorpe Home. Go ahead. I'll have to promote them to panelists. Stand by. Just a sec. They're using an older version of Zoom, so they have to be a panelist to speak.
You're good to go.
You're on, Thorpe.
Mr. Holm, you're on.
I don't know if he can, we can't hear him.
We can't hear, yeah. Are they on mute?
I don't, they're not on mute.
Like they're muted.
Hold on, let's see.
Mr. Holm, if you hear us, we don't hear you.
Hello?
All right, we got a. Will, is there any way to tell them that we can't hear them? No. Get somebody
No,
else.
I don't think they have capability there. I'm sorry to say.
Okay.
They should.
Caller whose phone number ends in 198. Go ahead.
Mr. IT man, can you hear me?
Loud and
Yeah.
clear.
Ordinance 3. For the record, the matter can't be moved this evening. At its last appearance before the planning board took a vote without public comment. Public comment was barred. Therefore, unless the matter is back at the planning board for public comment, it cannot be measured on this evening. Council cannot vote on it for the record. I find it interesting this evening that others are answering questions rather than the council people who are voting. The council people should be all knowledgeable of this, so therefore my questions are going to be to the council. Ms. Wittes.
No, you
Ms.
address the
Silverman-
question. Mr. Lepore, you address the questions to me.
I'm going to ask any council person I want.
No, I'm running this meeting. I'm telling you, ask the questions to me.
This is out of procedure.
Well,
This
it's
is out of
different-
procedure.
Well,
Well, actually, it
All
is
right.
it is the council's procedure
I
that you
am
address the council
voicing
through the council president.
it's a point that's being made now. This meeting is now out of order. Will Silverman and Jamal pay the full parking contribution to the parking garage
This
under the
has
new
nothing to
version of
do
the
with
transit
this
village
ordinance.
zone?
This is
Has
not
nothing
Yes,
about
it
that.
does.
Has nothing to do with this ordinance.
Excuse me, it has nothing to do with this ordinance.
Has nothing to do with this ordinance. That's a specific planning board application, and this has nothing to do with that.
The original version of this ordinance had the funding formula for the parking garage. It's been gutted. I have the right to ask an amended version. Will Silverman and Jamal pay the full parking contribution to the parking garage?
They
Under the
will
new
pay-
version of
they will pay
Transit
based
Village.
upon they will pay based upon the ordinance in effect at the time they got their approval. This doesn't affect them.
This does not affect them.
No, they pay based upon the ordinance in effect at the time they got their approval.
Is the shared parking under H5, is that custom tailored for Jamal and Silverman with their side-by-side Chelsea Avenue projects?
No.
Yes
this
or
doesn't
no?
affect that project. This is a ordinance going forward. I'll let Mr. Graviano answer. I'm not familiar with the project, but he can answer. It doesn't have anything to do
No.
with a specific project.
I'm familiar with the projects.
Okay.
Why was the financial formula for the parking garage removed from the Transit Village ordinance now? You made an
Nick,
amendment to
can you answer the
remove
question?
the financial formula for the parking garage. Why?
We wanted to create a clear-cut standard with definitive standards for the board to vote on in these applications. We felt that this was a better method and a more transparent method to create the parking standards for each project. It eliminated any gray area in the board's analysis in terms of the projects and created clear and defined standards for each.
Stop it. I'm tired of the baloney. It's all bunk. So you remove the financial formula, and now you're abandoning the original Transit Village ordinance plan for a parking garage and structural overpass of the tracks. That's what it's coming down to.
This has nothing to
Okay?
do with that,
You're
once again.
sparing the developers in Transit Village from contributing to the parking garage under this ordinance.
It has nothing to do with that, Mr.
Yes, it does. It has
Lepore.
everything to
but
do
it
with it.
doesn't,
You
Mr.
gutted it.
Lepore.
You took it out of the original version, and this is an amended version. You gutted it. Stop lying, Reno.
I'm not really sure what you're talking about. There's only one version.
Oh,
of the
well, then you
ordinance,
should have
so,
attended the planning board meetings and has been as knowledgeable as me.
Well.
Why
you
weren't
can't
bed and
make up your own
breakfasts
facts, Mr.
considered in
Lepore.
this?
You-
No,
you-
but
you
you're
have to
the
stick- you
one
have
with
to
the
stick to the
appropriate
ordinance.
facts on ordinance 26
Susan,
that got us into litigation.
let's stay in track here. Come on, Mr. Lepore.
Oh, you tell that to Mr. Raynone. I'm right on track. Why weren't bed and
That's right,
breakfasts included in this?
All right.
Particularly on Franklin Morrison Pavilion.
Hotels were allowed as a permitted use within the district.
Is a bed and breakfast considered a hotel under this ordinance?
1 minute.
A bread and breakfast is a hotel establishment which would be permitted in the mixed-use core, which is in the established commercial areas of Third Avenue, West Avenue, and Westwood Avenue, where the council, and I agree with them, felt that it was appropriate to concentrate mixed-use development around the train station.
Jamal and Silverman do not have their resolutions approved yet by the planning board. They have approvals for the projects, but no resolution of approval. After this ordinance is adopted, will they be obligated by the planning board approval? Or if the resolution comes after the adoption of this ordinance, will they be spared their parking contribution to the parking garage? A parking garage that you people have now eliminated by stating you wanted a better system. So you're so contradictory on this, none of you are capable
5
of
minutes
voting
is
on
up.
this ordinance this evening.
Okay,
You're
thank
all
you, Mr.
incompetent.
Lepore.
No
1 minute.
vote on this.
Anybody else will?
Thorpe, Home, and Ermy raised their hands again, and we got another Richard. Let's see. Ermy allowed to.
I think that's Mr. Ermy, probably.
Yes,
Ermy,
Yes.
go.
yes, this is Mr. Ermy.
Thank you, Mr. Ermy.
No problem, 322 Cleveland Avenue. My question is regarding that apartment that you guys spoke about before of 50 persons. Is there parking underneath that apartment or involved in that property? Or are people who are in that, who are gonna live there, required to park on the street? Because that adds 50, you said 2 people per unit, that adds another 100 cars to our block. You can't fit 100 cars on that block.
Well, discussion should be related to this ordinance itself. However, I will say that the applicant there has, adequate off-street parking and the board approved it.
But it's still off street. It's not.
No, it's on their property. It's
Oh, it
On
is.
their, right, it's off street. It's not on the street.
Okay, I understand. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. That's it, Will?
No other hands raised, sir.
All right. I need a motion to close.
I'll move.
All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
This is the third reading of ordinance 321, an ordinance amending chapter 345 of the Code of the City of Long Branch, revising redevelopment regulations for the Transit Village District. I need a motion to adopt the third and final reading and advertise according to law.
So moved.
So, second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Dangler, Dr. Vogt,
Yes.
Mrs. Wittes,
Yes.
Dr. Selly,
Yes.
Mr. Vieira.
Yes.
That's 4 ayes, 1 absent.
Ordinance 7-21, an ordinance authorizing the exchange of property between the city of Long Branch and the Housing Authority of the city of Long Branch for vacant, undeveloped property to be used exclusively for affordable housing and the Bucky James Center. This ordinance was introduced on March 24th, 2021, and authorizes transfer of certain properties to the Long Branch Housing Authority in exchange for the Bucky James Center. I need a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
If any member of the public has any comments to make, please dial *9 on your phone, and a representative will call on you by the last 3 digits of your phone number. When you're called upon, state your name and address clearly for the record. You'll have 5 minutes and may only speak once.
Caller whose phone number ends in 350. Go ahead.
Yeah, Ernest Mignoli, born in 301 Second Avenue, Long Branch. I live in 710 Street in Southeast Florida now. I'm looking to move back to Long Branch and Asbury or Asbury. Mr. Reno, just a quick synopsis, please, just so I'm sure, because no?
Yes, sir. So the Housing Authority built the Bucky James Center on city property using HUD money. And HUD, that it was an old program, and now HUD is starting to get away from asking housing authorities to maintain community centers. So the city was approached by the Housing Authority. They would like to build more affordable housing. There was a vacant city property that's indicated in the ordinance. And they've agreed to give us the now constructed community center and to release the HUD lien on the property so that the city could now take over the Bucky James Center and use it as a city facility. And in exchange, the city is going to give them the vacant land, and they're going to use their funding sources to construct affordable housing.
Okay. So my question is, do they tell you how many units they want to create?
No.
No. Okay. What's the size of the property that they're getting?
So I don't know, Mr. Jackson, whether you have the exact, I just have the lot and block numbers.
So
I mean, what is it? 1,000 by 500? What?
Excuse me?
It has to be a big lot, yes?
Well, it's a series of lots that are, it's actually, I apologize, it's 1.23 acres.
Right.
Okay. And the exact location is at, what are the two cross streets?
It's
Corner of Union and Liberty.
I'm sorry?
Union and Liberty.
Okay. Okay. And as part of the deal, so to speak, has it been determined how many affordable homes are being built, and is it exclusively affordable, or is it a percentage of affordable? And what's ever being built, are they going to have on location parking?
So the answer
So
is,
I guess that's
it's
about
gonna
6
be-
questions.
It's exclusively affordable because the HUD will only lend the housing authority money to build affordable housing. So, and there'll be a deed restriction in the property that says it has to be 100% affordable. So that's that question. And of course, how much parking is going to be on site? That'll be part of their, essentially when they get their, it's a planning board review. So they'll have to obviously have the zoning in place to do what they want to do, and they'll have to come before the board.
Okay, and you do know it's not just me, it's a lot of people who believe that the planning board, has issues, the way they run meetings and a lot of things, like when you talk about Jamal and the developer and Chelsea and Third, and when you actually get to the meeting, it's really not held away that the public
Council
has the
President,
appropriate.
Mr. McNolly, you've got to state to the
Okay,
audience.
so
You gotta
let me
state
get
the
back to
audience.
this. Okay, so you have the parking, it's all affordable. Has it been designated how many units?
No,
No,
it is
the
not.
answer is I don't know how many yet.
Yeah, Mr.
You don't know.
McNolly, Mr. McNolly is, if I may, this is a win-win for everyone in the city, in my opinion. In other words, basically, we are taking possession of the Bucky James community center, which right now has some HUD restrictions in terms of use. So by the city taking it over, we would open it up to, more programming, more accessibility to the residents of Long Branch. The flip side of this, of course, or what's also happening is, there is a huge demand for affordable housing in the city of Long Branch. And so this, like I said, is a win-win because the community center becomes more active and we have more affordable housing units, which we certainly have a lack of in the city. The reason we're not answering the number of units and so forth is because that's, under the housing authority. It's their decision in terms of what they're going to do or what they can and want to do. So that's why we can't answer that question. But again, this is both the housing authority, the city council, myself, and the administration see this as a real positive for the city of Long Branch.
Well, Mayor, you see everything as a real positive, like Pier Village and Ocean Avenue and Ocean Boulevard. You see that as a positive. So what would that mean to us?
Well, Mr. Magnoli, I don't really.
And then one other thing I want to say, I think it's a conflict. I think it's a conflict on the planning board that you appoint Senator Gopal's wife.
Listen, let's stick to the ordinance.
Well, it is because these things go before planning at some point, and you have a senator who's involved with HUD and housing, and then you have his wife on the planning board.
Oh, well, HUD is actually a federal
agency,
agency, not a state agency, so that's not true. And the mayor appoints the planning board because the state law says the mayor appoints the planning board, and it's got nothing to do with the state government or the federal government. So there's no conflict there.
Wait a minute. You're saying that Senator Gopal from Long Branch has no contact with the state?
No, I'm saying that this is going to, the Long Branch Housing Authority is funded by the federal government, not the state government. HUD money.
I don't know.
All right, thank you, Ms. McNulty. Will, do we have anybody else?
Yes, sir. Thorpe Home. Go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Loud and clear, sir.
Okay, yeah, so I had my hand raised on the last one. I called in on another device and you even mentioned my name, but on ordinance 3-21, but after you didn't come to me after Mr. Ermy. So I mean, my comment is general about 321 and it could also apply.
Mr. Thorne, we can't talk about that right now. That's been approved.
All right, so now
I'm
talking about the ordinance at hand then.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're talking about the ordinance 7-21.
Okay.
Bucky James Center.
Okay, so my comment about that is a general comment about the ordinance and the planning. And in general, it's a comment that I don't think the residents are getting informed well enough and well in advance enough to really, understand what's going on with some of these things. Certainly the information that I got, we just got something last week and now this week we're voting on it. And, it's going to just be a rush to vote to, say yes. I mean, that's what's going to happen no matter what. And, so I just wanted to make a comment and request that, that we get a little bit more advance notice. And when there's things like information sent out, like the map that was sent out was basically not readable.
That map doesn't have anything to do with this ordinance.
With this ordinance.
You understand that, right?
Yes, I understand. I understand that well, you didn't call on me and I had my hand raised.
But sir,
right?
I apologize. We did, but we couldn't hear you.
No,
for
you
about
did
2
not.
minutes, we tried to get you
that
on.
was the
We
first
apologize.
time. No, that was the first time. Then I called in on another device as you asked me to, and I had my hand raised, and you even said There's Thorpe Home is on the line as well as Mr. Ermy. Then you went to Mr. Ermy.
No,
And
no.
then you did
But
not come back to me.
But we did go to you.
Can I jump in here? Mr. Council President Vieira, I mean, it's
Go
your
ahead.
call. I think it's fair that Mr. That Thorpe didn't, that he was having some issues. I mean, I think if he wanted to talk on the previous ordinance, but that's your call. I mean, he did not get through and he was recognized.
Go ahead, Mr. Thorne, but you can explain, but I'll let you know that that's been approved. So, but go ahead.
Okay, that's been approved. What I'm talking about right now is really then for the future, obviously, because that's been approved. But what I'm saying is the information I got was fairly hard to understand. We did put a call in and we got some description, but for example, the map that is sent out is very hard to read, and it's hard to understand what's going on with it. And just to have a quick meeting, and then it's going to be improved. I just wish there was there could be more involvement from the community, the actual regular residents in these kind of decisions more in advance. So I'm just making a request to the city council and to maybe take that into consideration. I guess I'll call separately to find out how I can get more involved in some of the planning board things. I mean, let me ask this question. The planning board for what was going on the corner of Bath and Westwood, I guess you said it's a 50 apartment dwelling is going to go in there. Did that, I guess, go out to the local residents? I guess maybe I'm too far away that I didn't get a notice on that.
Yes, there would have been notice, yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
if I
Mr.
was
Thorne.
in the range, right,
Correct.
okay. But that, so I guess was that discussed in open meetings that people could come and find out what's going on with that?
Yes, sir. It was that didn't come to the council. That was before the planning board, correct?
Thorpe, can I mention, so, we wanted to give you the extra time in fairness, but we need to stick to that ordinance. But I will tell you that right after this, we're now going into public comment. So if you don't mind, you can call back again and ask any question that you would like.
Okay, all right. Thank you for letting me address that. And yeah, I'll call back and I'll inquire more about this. Thanks for hearing me.
Thank you, Mr. Thorne.
Caller whose phone number ends in 198. Go ahead.
Vincent Lepore, 33 Ocean Terrace, Long Branch. I'd like to direct this question to Ms. Wittes, Councilwoman. The affordable housing,
You directed questions to me, Mr. Lepore.
and then you direct them to Raynone and Graviano
directed to our
because you don't
professionals,
have the
yes.
answers.
That's why we have the.
Because you don't have the answer. Then why doesn't the council be accountable for the vote and answer the questions?
Mr. Lepore, I explained to you, direct the questions to me. We have our professionals here to answer those questions for you.
I
That's what-
want the council to answer the question. The council is the one making the vote, not the attorney, not Mr. Graviano. It's the council. You're barring the council from making answers because they don't know what they're doing, like we just saw on the previous ordinance.
Mr.
And you,
Lepore,
Mr.
I'm
Reno-
running this meeting. If you don't like the way I run it, I can't help it, but that's the way it is. That's the way it's gonna be.
Oh, that's the way it's going to be. This is why people refer to this administration as Schneider the Second. There's no
Excuse me,
difference
are you-
between the Schneider administration and
Are
this
you
one.
calling about the
None.
ordinance or about the administration? This is about the ordinance.
Excuse me, you barred me from asking a council person about the ordinance. You have barred me from asking a council person about the ordinance. Typical
Ask him-
Schneider-esque move. Typical Schneider-esque move. Typical. Ms. Wittes, Is this affordable housing going to be
Don't
taxable?
answer that, Mrs. Wittes. You gotta ask
Don't
me a
answer it,
question.
Miss Wittes.
The
You
answer is
already
no.
messed up on
The answer
ordinance
is-
26.
The answer is no, it won't be. It'll be housing authority property.
It's housing authority property.
Right. It'll be
So when you
treated-
use the word affordable housing, okay, what you're stating now is it's really not affordable. It's housing authority. It's the city housing authority. Because
Right.
it's a pejorative term you're using, affordable housing. Because ever since this matter became public, the land exchange with Bucky James, many of the Long Branch residents in affordable housing units that are paying taxes are stating they aren't affordable. They're choking on their taxes. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Anybody else, Will?
No other callers, sir.
I need a motion to close the public portion.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This is the third reading of ordinance 7-21, an ordinance authorizing the exchange of property between the city of Long Branch and the housing authority of the city of Long Branch for vacant, undeveloped property to be used exclusively for affordable housing and the Bucky James Center. I need a motion to adopt the third and final reading and advertise according to law.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Dangler, Dr. Vogt,
Yes.
Mrs. Wittes,
Yes.
Dr. Selly,
Yes.
Mr. Viera.
Yes.
That's 4 ayes, 1 absent.
Ordinance for introduction. This is the first reading of ordinance 8-21, titled an ordinance amending chapter 5 and 78 of the code of the city of Long Branch and prescribing the duties of the director of the public safety. This ordinance amends chapter 5 and 78 of the code of the city of Long Branch concerning the table of the organization for the police department and eliminate the position of the chief of the police assignment and the duties of the position of the director of the public safety and the designated officer in charge. I need a motion to introduce on the first reading and advertise a post according to law and set public hearing for April 28th, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Dangler, Dr. Vogt,
Yes.
Mrs. Wittes,
Yes.
Dr. Selly,
Yes.
Mr. Viera.
Yes.
4 ayes, 1 absent.
Public participation for resolutions and all general comments. I need a motion to open the public portion of the meeting for all comments.
So moved.
Need a second?
Second.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? If any member of the public has any comments to make, please dial *9 on your phone and a representative will call you by the last 3 digits of your phone number. When you are called upon, state your name and address clearly for the record. You will have 5 minutes and may only speak once.
Yeah, Council President, is this ordinance 8-21?
Yes, it doesn't need public hearing yet.
There's no public hearing. This is introduction.
Introduction.
Okay, sorry.
Sorry about that. Yep. I'll fix that. Thank you.
It's introduction. All right, thank you.
So
Okay,
just for the members of the public that are listening, Council President, ordinances have public hearings at the second reading. It takes 2 meetings to adopt, 2 council meetings to adopt an ordinance. This is the first reading and its introduction, so there's not a public hearing. So the public hearing will be held 2 weeks from today. Jeff, what's the date of that?
28th of April.
28th.
28th.
So Council President, you need a motion to introduce and a roll call vote, a second and a roll call vote.
I need a motion to introduce
So
ordinance.
moved.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Dangler, Dr. Vogt,
Yes.
Mrs. Wittes,
Yes.
Dr. Selly,
Yes.
Mr. Viera.
Yes.
4 ayes, 1 absent.
All right. Let's go up to open. I need a motion to open the public portion of the meeting.
So
All
moved.
comments again?
second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? If any member of the public has any comments to make, please dial *9 on your phone, and a representative will call you by the last 3 digits of your phone number. When you are called upon, state your name and address clearly for the record. You will have 5 minutes and may only speak once.
Caller whose phone number ends in 198. Go ahead.
It's unmuted. There we go.
Mr. IT man, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Mr. IT man,
Loud and clear, sir.
Vincent Lepore, 33 Ocean Terrace, Long Branch, requesting 1 minute notification. Correction, Attorney Raynone, the public was barred from comment before the planning board on this ordinance at the last planning board meeting concerning this ordinance. And the planning board went ahead and took the vote. Procedurally, you're wrong.
I don't think that I said that. I think that we were talking about the
Yes, you
application.
did.
Okay.
The most recent developments concerning Church of the President's Museum, I want 1 minute notification, are assuring that the land will remain intact and not for sale. I repeat, not for sale. The land being on the National Registry as an historic site, in this particular instance, cannot be sold. The National Trust for Historic Preservation is now investigating the matter of the Church of the President's Museum and its land, along with other agencies. The land does not meet the conditions for sale because the land does not present an imminent hazard to public health, safety, and welfare. 2, the 501c3 Church of the President's Museum as an organization still exists, although fledgling, and has not been dissolved. 3rd, any federal money which found its way to the museum by funding, state or local grants, automatically bars any 501c3 from selling the land on a national registry. Any proposed subdivision by the trustees of the Church of the President's Museum land will never make it to the zoning board. It's all preempted as a non-sale, period. On another subject, I would like to make congratulations to the City Library for being finalists in the National Medal for Museum and Library Science. Credit goes to the director, Tanya Garcia, and her fine staff for attaining this national recognition. Again, as has been done so many times before. Congratulations. I would also like to let everybody know in this city the fine telecommunications center that our library is running, with a fine staff, space, and equipment to accommodate instructions on telecommunications. This is why it's so troubling with Resolution 70 on the agenda this evening. The agenda calls for an instructional telecommunications center. We have the finest with the library, and it can always be upgraded. For that reason and other reasons, Resolution 70, I'm requesting a no vote. There isn't much here to discuss with Resolution today, with 70. With today's technology, there is no more need for bigger buildings unless the city needs a bigger jail. If there was another need for a court, I suggested some time ago that the donated Broadway Bank building be used for the court. But the council and mayor did not go in that direction. The resolution is nonsensically haphazard and put together in jest. But what's most important for the taxpayers is basic economics.
1 minute.
One doesn't venture unless the funding money is in place to do the venture. The city is now venturing without definitive knowledge of funding sources, spare the taxpayers of this burden. We've already witnessed the corruption of the armory and the $4 million overrun of the boardwalk, along with other financial fiascos of this city. Vote no, Resolution 70. And to the taxpayers of this city, the way you see this meeting conducted tonight, as deplorable as it is, if you allow it, then you deserve to be clobbered with the taxes you're paying, because it's irresponsible government.
Thank you, Mr. Lepore.
Caller whose phone number ends in 350. Go ahead.
Yeah, Ernest McNolly, born 301 Second Avenue, Long Branch. I live in Southeast Florida now on 7th Street. I'd like to start out talking about you have a new fire chief now. I understand it's Mr. Peter DeLisa, who's very, 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 very well known, born and raised in, I wouldn't say born, but raised in Long Branch, well known to the mayor and the U.S. congressman, the family. That's Debbie DeLisa, the sister from Wunderbar. That's Krista Richter DeLisa, the daughter who was a Long Branch fireman, etc. But let's stick with Mr. DeLisa now. He wanted to be a Long Branch cop, and he was tested and failed psychologically. Serious problems. So bad that even the Palones and others trying to help couldn't bypass the results of those failed psychiatric tests to be a Long Branch police officer. Those become permanent record, by the way. So somehow, because his parents are so powerful, they get him a job in Florida as a sheriff in Dade County, right? He's pulling guns on people, shoving guns in people's mouths. He gets fired, right? And then the parents come in and say, well, we'll get you something up in the Bergen prosecutor's office. We'll make you a detective there. Right? He goes there. And whatever he did, he caused every one of his bosses so much problems. It broke into lawsuits. Half the people had to quit, right? So he's out of there, right? And then hangs around for a while, and then he still wants a firearm. So what does he do? He goes to the prosecutor, Ross LaCitra, and he asked them, listen, I want a gun. So Ross said, listen, I'm the head of the SPCA now, and I can make you an armed officer. And DeLisa's like, can you? Yeah. So they get him a Glock 40, and they make him a dog catcher with a Glock. Peter DeLisa? Really? Working for the prosecutor's office? With a Glock? A man who failed the psychiatric test? And not to mention what he was involved in deal with his daughter, who was partially responsible for the death of Earl Alexander by the university. They were all together that day, drinking, drugs, whatever. Peter, his daughter, Krista, right? Who broke up his marriage, by the way, turned him into a drunk, a sex fanatic and drug addict, right? And then he dies. And where's the investigation go? Nowhere. Nowhere. Because this guy, DeLisa, his family, have so many connections, right? That nothing goes anywhere. So now, August 13th in Ocean on Asbury Avenue, Krista Richter DeLisa, the daughter, a call comes in about child endangerment. Ocean Township Police go there. They arrest Krista Richter DeLisa, her mate, and remove a child. In there, guns, rifles, hollow point bullets, CDS drugs, paraphernalia, child endangerment, right? And they get arrested and put in the Monmouth County Jail, right? Now, why didn't that appear on the prosecutor's crime page, his Facebook page? I'll tell you why. Because that's Peter DeLisa's daughter. That's why. You know what I'm talking about, Mr. Pallone. You let this guy become the chief. You shouldn't have allowed it. You know his background. And look what's going on with Fighter, the other cop, the other fireman they're covering up, right? Stealing stuff, charged with crimes. You're covering that up. And then look at Joyce Jr., another fireman, right? Abusing.
1 minute.
Yeah. Crimes everywhere. And Mayor, let me ask you something. What do you and your brother do to get rid of somebody like DeLisa. I don't mean get rid of, I mean not let him be a fire chief. Why don't you stand up for the people? Okay? You let somebody like that? Right? Yeah. What are you going to say, Mr. Pallone? And you are, you know something? Were you letting people like that? As bad as Roebuck. Look at the people you've let scare the heck out of people. You know how people feel with Peter DeLisa walking around with a weapon, drunk, threatening people? And what do? You make him a chief? What's wrong with you, Mr. Pallone? What's wrong? Yeah. Fire chief? Peter DeLisa? Yeah. And where's the SORA license for his weapon? You have to be 10 years on a police force, contiguous. Where's this weapon come from that he's threatening people with? Right?
Mario, you're on mute.
Council President, you're on mute.
Can you hear me now? Do we have anybody else?
Yes.
No other callers.
sir.
All right. Mr. Clerk, have you received any public comment by electronic mail or written letter?
No, I have not.
I need a motion to close the public participation portion of this meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We can take a list of the resolutions and consent agenda. I need a motion.
So moved. Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Dangler, Dr. Vogt,
Yes.
Mrs. Wittes,
Yes.
Dr. Selly,
Yes.
Mr. Vieira.
Yes.
4 ayes, 1 absent.
Applications. I need a motion to appoint the following members to the Long Branch Fire Department. David Tefler, Neptune. Sean Edson, West End. Paige Green, Neptune. Michael Powers, Bridgeport.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Dangler, Dr. Vogt,
Yes.
Mrs. Wittes,
Yes.
Dr. Selly,
Yes.
Mr. Vieira.
Yes.
4 ayes, 1 absent.
Miscellaneous, business for the good of the order. Councilwoman Vogt.
Thank you, Council President. I'd like to just make one announcement tonight, and this is pretty significant for any of our people, people in town who are dealing with any sort of disability. And this is thanks to Motions, as many of you know, which is a Center for Independent Living right on Broadway, do magnificent work under the leadership of Executive Director Judith Brown. The Motions received CARES like money, and it is directed specifically for people with disabilities to help them with anything related to any harm that has come to them because of COVID. So this money can help them with things like food, household supplies, personal care items, assistance for housing, transportation, prescriptions, personal care attendance. It is money for people with disabilities, their families, and their caregivers. So it is it's magnificent in terms of the assistance that can be given to people. I'm going to make sure that the announcement for this is, Jeff, maybe you could make sure that this gets on the website. Anyone who wants to apply for this funding needs to contact Motions, and I'll give you the phone number now, but of course we'll make sure that this is on the website. So the phone number is 833-662-3267. Let me say it one more time. 833-662-3267. 6-7. And certainly this administration and the residents of Long Branch give tremendous thanks to Motions for their generosity in sharing this with everybody. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Vogt. Councilwoman Wittes?
Hi, good evening. Yes, I'd like to wish Miss Cheryl a happy birthday. It was really nice to be able to see her once again, and we wish her well in many, many more years. And I just hope everyone continues to stay safe, and that's all I have to say this evening. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Councilwoman Wittes. Councilwoman Sally?
Tonight, we have our city clerk who is leaving us after several months, and he's done a great job. And I personally, on behalf of myself, would like to thank Jeff for everything that he's done. He's brought us up into the 21st century. And I'm sure as he goes on to his future endeavors, I wish him lots of good luck. Now, I make the same statement. Wear your mask, social distance, and be careful and watch what you do. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilwoman Sally. Mayor Pallone?
Thank you, Council President. I just wanted to say that we're proud to announce that the Long Branch Free Public Library is the sole library representing New Jersey as a finalist for the prestigious National Medal for Museum and Library Science, placing us among America's preeminent libraries and demonstrating the value of libraries. The National Medal for Museum and Library Service is the highest federal honor awarded to a library or museum, with just 15 libraries from around the country selected as finalists. Our library has always had a huge impact on our community, and we thank them all for everything that they have done. Thank you to Director Tanya Garcia and all of the staff. We're currently vaccinated, as many of you know, over 3,000 residents with our COVID-19 vaccination site. Please call 732-571-5694. I'll also repeat that number again, 732-571-5694 on Mondays and Wednesdays from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. to get registered and then vaccinated. And finally, I wanted to say that let our residents know that our boardwalk is now and again fully back open. Both Seaview Towers, the north and the south buildings are now down. There's some cleanup that still remains, but the boardwalk is open, and from what I'm told, the roadway will open up starting tomorrow. With that, I just want to thank, we had quite a few participants on the call today. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your comments. And I'd like to wish everyone a wonderful week. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pallone. And I also want to echo what my fellow councilmen and mayor mentioned. I want to special Cheryl, her 100th birthday. Happy birthday. And our traffic department for the fast response of opening the boardwalk, as the mayor just mentioned. Thank you for that work. And also Tanya Garcia and her staff for the recognition that the mayor just mentioned also. Congratulations and a great job. And to leave it on, I want to thank our clerk that's leaving us, as Mary Jane just mentioned. Thanks, Jeff. It was a pleasure working with you. I wish you good luck and thank you. I need a motion to adjourn.
No moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Good night.
Good night.
Feel better, Mario.
Thank you.
Good luck, Jeff.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll keep in touch. Thank you. Keep in touch, everybody.